When Spaceman came to Earth, crashing in the middle of a giant crater, he remembered the oath of his people, the Venusians. They had created a utopian society on Venus where there was no violence, and the goal of Venusians, with their superior strength, speed, and flight, was to protect all innocents throughout the galaxy. The reason why he left Venus wasn't because of a planet-ending strike, but rather because he wanted to spread their peaceful ways throughout the galaxy. And for years, Spaceman did just that, becoming one of the most powerful superheroes on Earth, using his abilities and his tireless determination to not only fight supervillain threats to the point where they could be imprisoned, but going beyond that, going to prison and rehabilitating criminals, turning them from bad people into good people. But there was one criminal, his arch nemesis, who, to be honest, Spaceman didn't like very much. And every day when he went into his prison cell to try to rehabilitate him, the same conversation ensued. The Applause, a man with no powers, but with a remarkable ability to manipulate superpowered individuals for his own gain, would be sitting on his bed, waiting patiently for Spaceman to arrive. "Hello," the Applause said, smiling. Spaceman tried to manage a weak smile. "How are you doing today?" Spaceman said. "Do you repent for your actions?" The Applause looked at Spaceman with something like pity. "When are you going to give up already? I mean, seriously, I'm not going to repent. When I get out of here, I'm going to cause more death and destruction. Your ways of alien ways are not welcome here on Earth. And I frankly don't understand why more people don't get that aliens like you aren't welcome on our planet." He would say anything to get under Spaceman's skin, to try to get him to open the high-tech door so the Applause could get his hands onto Spaceman. Even though Spaceman was incredibly powerful, the Applause was scrappy, and he always had a plan. Spaceman knew if he opened the door, the Applause would get out, somehow. He just knew it. But this conversation today, as he entered the superpowered prison, was different. The guard looked at Spaceman. "I wouldn't talk to him today," the guard said. Spaceman put his hand on the guard's shoulder. He had given the guard's family presents for Christmas. He understood everybody's names. "Nonsense," Spaceman said. "The Venusians tell us that no one is beyond redemption," Spaceman said, smiling. When he walked past all the supervillains, he smiled and waved at them. They looked at him with neutral expressions. The truth was that Spaceman was so nice that nobody really hated him. No one except for the Applause. The Applause wasn't sitting in his normal space in the cell. Instead, he had his hands on the bars, waiting. "I've got a message for you," the Applause said, looking right into Spaceman's eyes. Spaceman looked at him. "Yes? Are you ready to repent for your ways?" "I don't think so," the Applause said. Spaceman was ready to get into his speech, about how it was better to be peaceful than to be violent, about how people needed to be protected, but then the Applause simply showed him a piece of paper. It had his face on it, and weird writings in a different language. "What is that?" Spaceman said. The Applause said. "If you want it, you're going to have to open the cell door." "You know I can't do that," Spaceman said. The Applause started reading it, and he was laughing so much. "Subject thinks that he is an alien from another world." Spaceman's eyes widened. "He thinks that he's a superpowered protector willing to spread peace with a population on Venus." Spaceman took a step back. "What is that paper?" But the Applause just kept reading. "Subject is not an alien and is in fact designed in a lab in Eastern Europe." Spaceman burst the door open and he faced off against the Applause. The Applause tried to duck under him, but Spaceman grabbed the Applause by the shoulders and pushed him against the wall. He grabbed the piece of paper and read it. Everything the Applause had said was true. Designed in a lab? Skin, green skin that he had for his whole life was dyed? He was made out of a corpse? He had a machine brain telling him false memories? The Applause headbutted Spaceman. Spaceman momentarily took a step back and the Applause darted for the door. The guard who walked Spaceman down screamed for help, but the Applause grabbed his gun and boom! Shot the guard in the face. The criminals in the cells got riotous and Spaceman kept reading the paper over and over again. He heard the doors open and finally snapped out of it. He ripped the paper in half and darted towards the elevator, but the Applause was already going up towards the surface. Spaceman burst through the door and flew up towards the elevator shaft. all the memories that he had about protecting. He wasn't an alien. He wasn't from another world. He was a robot, a cyborg made out of a corpse. What was going on? How did the Applause get the piece of paper? He would kill him for knowing that. The Applause's elevator arrived and he ran into the lobby, firing off at the guards. The guards tried to form a perimeter, but Spaceman burst through the doors, facing off against the Applause. He put his hand out and faced off. "He's mine," Spaceman said. The guards looked at him like they had never seen him before. This superhero, who was incredibly nice, pacifist, had an expression of pure rage on his face. He looked at the Applause in the eyes. "Where did you get that?" "It was a fake," Spaceman said. "The Venusians know that—" "The Venusians don't exist," the Applause said. "Why don't you fly back to Venus if you're so unconvinced," the Applause said. "Seriously, I mean, you can verify it for yourself. You don't need to breathe in space, right?" the Applause said, laughing. "I'll kill you," Spaceman said, flying towards the Applause. The Applause ducked under his flight and ran towards the door. Spaceman flew towards the door, running towards the Applause as he opened the door, revealing a giant creature made out of crystal, grabbing Spaceman. This was Geode, one of the Applause's minions. Somehow he had planned this day to escape, and Geode was incredibly powerful. Geode grabbed onto Spaceman with both hands, and Spaceman struggled to get out of his hands. The Applause walked down Geode's arms. The guards tried to fire up at Geode, but Geode's whole thing was that he was super invincible, and he could create giant crystal arms that the guards had to fight. The Applause looked at him as Spaceman was being held in his hands. "You know the worst thing about you, Spaceman?" the Applause said. Spaceman struggled in Geode's arms. He wished his ears didn't exist, so he wouldn't have to hear the lies of the Applause, and yet he had to. He was forced to. The Applause looked at him in the eyes. "The only reason why you ever helped anybody is because you thought that you were special, part of some alien race with a code. And now, look at you. As soon as I destroy your little fantasy in your head, this idea that Venusians don't exist, you become a murderous monster. That's what being human is all about. You might think of yourself as an alien or a cyborg or whatever, but that rage you feel," the Applause said. Spaceman struggled in Geode's arms. "That rage you feel is the most human thing about you. So when you really know who you are, you realize that helping people and not killing anyone doesn't make any sense. And the natural order of things is to kill," the Applause said. He pulled out a knife made out of vibrating energy, and he stabbed into Spaceman's collarbone. Spaceman, normally with his resistant skin, started bleeding, a robotic blood. He knew that Venusian blood was white, and yet this robotic blood was black, the color of oil. Was everything that the Applause said true? Did he really not have a home anymore? And Spaceman's mind broke. Suddenly, everything that the Applause said made sense to him. He was right. This whole time, he'd only been doing things because he thought he was supposed to, that he swore an oath, and yet every single person he protected, that was real. Every single guard at the superhero prison who loved him, that was real. And Spaceman looked at the Applause and smirked, a smirk of pride. "I don't care if I'm an alien or not," Spaceman said. The Applause's smile went from absolute to questioning, doubting. His face formed an expression of confusion. "What?" But Spaceman found his moment. Geode's hand shifted, and he broke out of Geode's hand, sending crystals flying everywhere. Geode roared in rage. The Applause tried to get him under control, but Spaceman punched Geode, sending him falling towards the ocean. The Applause clawed at the air, but he didn't have any superpowers. He was falling to his death, going to hit the water at top speed, and Spaceman saved the Applause, holding him up. "You're not an alien," the Applause said. "I'm not a liar. And when you finally go insane, you got my number. You can break me out of prison. We can do some really great work together. We can—" Spaceman smiled, a smile of pride. "You know what I realized? Applause?" Applause looked at him. "It doesn't matter if I'm an alien or not," Spaceman said, looking at the Applause. "What?" the Applause said. "Yeah," Spaceman said. "Because the feeling I get after doing good, of people loving me for protecting them from monsters like you, it's worth it. I don't care if I swore an oath or not," Spaceman said. "I am a superhero." The Applause screamed in rage. Geode tried to fight back, but it was all over. When the Applause and Geode were both in superpowered prison, Spaceman knew he had to go. He flew out into space as fast as he could. The Applause was right. He didn't need to breathe. So many myths, pieces of his past with the Venusians, came into question. And when Spaceman finally reached the surface of Venus and touched down on the yellow planet, he knew that the Applause's words were true. The Venusians never existed. He was created in a lab somewhere. Spaceman fell to his knees and wept. Wept for memories in his mind that were never there. But Spaceman's mind didn't break the way the applause wanted his mind to break. Spaceman was still a superhero.